Alright, so I'm on this 2000 Pontiac Bonneville today. I'm going to change the crank sensor out on it. These you got to pull their mag bouncer off. It's not a huge deal, but it is a little more involved than some of the ones where you just take a 10mm bolt out and slide it out. This has got the 3.8 in it. And one thing I can't stress enough, if you're going to put a crank sensor in, don't use the AutoZone or Riley's or whoever crank sensors. Go and get the AC Delco crank sensors. Any kind of sensor like this, always try to use the factory sensors, because I can't count how many times I've seen or had aftermarket cheap sensors fail, and then you're doing the job 2 or 3 times. Pretty much same with fuel pumps and stuff, but I won't even get on that. I've had 3 bad fuel pumps in the last month or so. But anyway, first thing we'll do is pull the belt off the engine, and then we'll jack it up. You have to jack it up and take the wheel off, because we are going to get down to the harmonic balancer there. So I'm going to get that all set up, get it jacked up, get the wheel off, and first thing we'll do is take the belt off, and then we'll start taking the harmonic balancer off. So anyway, I'll get to setting it up, and then we'll catch back up. Alright, so when you get your wheel off, you're going to find this shield up here. It's a plastic shield. You're going to remove that out of the way, and you're trying to get down to this harmonic balancer here. There's going to be a bunch of these clips that hold that to the body of the fender and all that. Just take I use a cat claw or a upholstery tool. You just get it in there and pop those out. And what we're trying to do is get here. You see the belt still. I got to still pull the belt off, so I'm going to go up top and pull that off. And then we're going to take this bolt off here and get down to this and pull this bad boy off. So anyway, let's go up top real quick, take this belt off. So these belts are really easy to get off on these 3.8. There's a lot of room. Just get yourself a 15mm socket, put it on the tensioner there, pull up on it, and the belt will come right off. And these cars don't have a belt diagram anymore. So if you're not sure which way the belt goes, take a picture with your cell phone, or you can just pull it up on Google real quick, and there'll be plenty of diagrams on there. But if you take it with your cell phone, you don't have to look it up. You can just check your phone real quick. So it's just a little tip. If you're not sure of your diagram, always take a picture of it before you take it off. Otherwise, like I said, you can go to Google, put in your car and put in belt diagram, hit images, and it'll pop up. So now that that's off, we'll get back to the bottom and pull that balancer off. Alright, so this particular bolt's a 24mm. So we're going to zip it off here, hopefully. Alright, so a little earthquake won't do it. So we'll get the Milwaukee out. Alright, should zip her off. Kind of surprised the earthquake won't do it, but the Milwaukee will. So here's your bolt. Now we got to get this pulley off, and there's usually three holes. They're pretty small. They go in here, and then you use a puller. So let me get that set up, and then we'll pick back up. Alright, so I'm using the Mako pulley remover. It actually doesn't come with the right bolts for this application, so you need to get 6 M6 bolts. These are 4.5 inches long, and I got some big washers in here. The holes are pretty small that go in there. So anyway, here's the 3-wheel or the 3-jaw puller, not jaw, but 3-way puller, and it's all set up. Run these down pretty tight and make sure it's even. You know, when you run them down, make sure all 3 of them are even, so that this pulls pretty good. And then put the bolt back in to the crankshaft, so you're not running this up against the crankshaft. And then go ahead and run this bolt down, and that'll pull it off. It shouldn't be too hard to come off. These usually are pretty easy to get off. So Anyway, run that down, that'll pull it off, and then you'll get access to your crank sensor. Alright, so here it is off. These are the bolts I use for the puller. That's the puller right there. And you want to check and make sure all your teeth are on there, that this looks okay. If that looks okay, then you're down to your crank sensor right here, which has a cover on it, a little plastic cover. You just pull that off, unplug it, and then there should be two 10mm bolts behind it. So I'll pull that off and kind of show you that. Alright, once you unplug it, you're going to have this. It's kind of like a dust cover that goes over it. It just pulls right out. The wiring harness does clip onto it up here. And then I was wrong. It's not 10mm, it's 13mm. So get a 13mm deep well and get in there and loosen it. Take off your plug, loosen that, or take it off. And then you got the two 13mm, that's it. It should pull right off. Alright, so here it is off, 2 10s, and there's a little tab in the middle that kind of holds it. You pull that off. This one's, I already scraped some of it off. This one's got quite a bit of buildup in between the ridges here, where it reads, where the crankshaft goes around. So, anyway, get the new one out and just set it back in there and bolt it up, and we'll go from there. Alright, you can see there that one's the new one's bolted in, ready to go. If you have any kind of leakage out of your front seal here, now's a good time to go ahead and change that. While I got the harmonic balancer off. This one's all dry under here, so it's not leaking. But if you would have some kind of leak on here, now would be a good time to do that. So anyway, I'm just going to put that dust cover back on, put that electrical connection back in, and then we'll start running this balancer back down. And remember, before you plug your sensor in, put this dust shield back on. There's just 3 points that it pushes onto. There's 3 studs. You got your 2 studs for your sensor, and there's one over here. It just presses on, snaps in there, and then plug in your harness. And then there's a spot on this shield here that the harness clips to. Clip that back in, and now you're ready to put your harmonic balancer back on and start running that back down. Alright, so make sure your harmonic balancer is in the keyway before you start running this down. Rotate a little bit until it locks in, push it in, and then run this down until the harmonic balancer is seated all the way. You'll be able to tell it'll stop against. What I do is I get my head under there and I watch it till it stops against the block, and then, or not against the block, but until it stops back here, and then I just make sure this is nice and tight. So anyway, we'll put the belt back on and make sure she starts. We hope she will. Alright, so here it is running. Just kind of a quick overview of how to do the crank sensor on one of these 3.8s. Hardest part of the job is getting that harmonic, the crankshaft pulley off. It'll be a little bit challenging. It's not a lot of room under there, and you got to have the right tools. Once you get that, it's pretty straightforward. So anyway, we're going to just take this for a test drive, make sure everything's good on it, and get this Hoopty back on the road. And thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.